Welcome back to ThreadWatch. Have you been keeping up? Red pill me on Dave Chappelle. Like, how do you explain everything? Clones? Did he just not want to play ball? Libertarianism and civic nationalism. Have you listened to the interview in which he talked about he got pressured to dress like a woman for a movie because all great comedians did it? Start there. But those same interviews and his views are also why I find it pretty strange he did a 180 after leaving it all for a few years. What do you think happened while he was gone? That's where I'm at currently. Why don't you spill it? I mean, nobody really gives a Susan. I don't know what happened, nobody knows. All I know is that he probably knew why Martin Lawrence snapped. He also knew that all the money in the world wasn't worth supporting the system he was slowly becoming part of. Now he's all about money. He's been quoted saying he literally came back because of it. His parents and friends have also been quoted saying he was never into expensive clothes and working out. These are all the breadcrumbs I can leave, the rest is speculation. He was politically incorrect. And Rob's right. Yes. But Cat Williams went the nut route. In today's climate we have certain trigger words that can immediately discredit what you're saying. Illuminati is one of them, so you can have a rock-solid argument, but as soon as you name the Susan or say Illuminati, you immediately get discredited as a nut. Chappelle was dropping clear hints while having a major comedy show on air. Think MDE World Peace times a million. Yeah, he's broke as Susan because he doesn't get the same opportunity as those that comply. That's the Cat versus Kevin beef. Kevin Hart probably wore a dress at one point. Like one of the greats, I'm willing to bet. Not wrong. Speaking of Kevin Hart, weird how after he was dropped off the Oscars for not being PC he got into a life-threatening car accident from which he recovered 100% immediately, isn't it? I mean, yeah, but it wasn't immediate. He was talking about the year-long recovery a week ago on Joe Rogan. That said, it's Susaning crazy how it always happens like that and nobody notices. Year-long? Didn't he crash in September, October? However, I remember media talking about serious conditions, as in he could never recover completely. That's why I was so surprised when I heard about his miraculous recovery. Okay, 8 months whatever, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to kill him or something. I don't think these people try anything. If they want to accomplish something, they do. My take on this is that they used his convalescence to talk some sense into him. They can destroy him as easily as they created him, and he better be aware of this. He left because he refused to sacrifice his integrity and came back on his own time. He didn't sell his soul, and that's the exact reason he can get paid as much as he does. It's good that you're asking these questions. The entertainment industry is comprised of people who trade common sense and morality for fame and fortune. They lose their own identity and become whatever is necessary to secure their life. They don't have values anymore and say whatever is necessary to garner attention to them through the media. They have teams of people they hire to tell them how to present themselves on social media and real life. They're just glorified puppets for everyone else who doesn't know better to blindly follow and imitate, because they've been forced to believe that these are the people to aspire to be like, completely unaware that their identities are fabricated and there are people pulling their strings in the background. The concept of debt isn't really compatible with our brain. That's why it's so easy to trick animals, that's why insurance companies, banks and casinos make so much money. The greatest gift is life itself, and we owe nothing to our parents, the ones that granted it onto us. That makers, in secret societies, just like Satan, trick you into believing they can give you another life, a great life, and you accept without asking what you have to pay back, because as smart as you might be, your brain always puts reward over risk. These people also act very kind and giving, like twisted godparents. Then one day you decide to say something controversial, and you lose your wallet, or your phone. Something minor, so that you don't realize the connection. But your brain does. The bigger the upsetting, the harsher the punishment. Apparently unrelated, but in our subconscious nothing is coincidental. Okay, here's the deal. I'm a huge Chappelle fan and a bigger Patrice ONeal fan. Patrice broke it down in an O&A podcast info that he may as well have. Dave really looked up to Paul. Paul is now almost 80 years old. Paul lived his developmental years through a time before the Civil Rights Act and an era of legitimate racism. Paul had a great disdain for white people. Susan, he's got a disdain for anyone who isn't black and a lot of blacks themselves. He's another comedian who never really made it big because he wasn't willing to bend a knee. Paul sees racism in everything, especially the industry. He didn't like that the primary writer was white, Neil Brennan. He didn't like a lot of the sketches and viewed Dave as something of a sellout for continuing to do the show. Patrice said an older comedian from an era of legit racism was working on the show and Dave really looked up to him. We know it was Paul. His constant advice and criticism really started Susaning with Dave's head. He had Dave second-guessing what's funny, why it's funny, who's laughing and the political and racial implications of every single joke. Instead of just being Dave and doing his own brand of comedy. Everything came to a T during the Racial Pixie sketch IIRC. Dave was a bit apprehensive about this sketch and donning full-blown minstrel blackface. At some point in the sketch someone on set started bursting out laughing and Dave lost it. He threw a fit, stormed off set and did the whole disappeared to Africa thing. The person who laughed was Bill Burr. A white man, not racist, but yeah. Paul had been gaslighting Dave and Patrice completely blames Paul for Dave's media Suzanne show that followed suit. Paul's cynical racial-centric brand of humor works him, because he's sharing his life experiences and own perspective, but that's not Dave. Also, if you guys are really interested in behind-the-scenes Susan like this, check out Opie and Anthony's podcasts. Patrice has hundreds of hours of content there that's better than any stand-up sets. He drops red pills on cliques and cults in Hollywood. Talks about black cliques, Susan cliques, how he got booted from Spike Lee's clique and all sorts of Susan we probably suspect but nobody talks about. How does Bill Burr influence his getaway to Africa? I thought they were homies. They are. Bill's married to a black woman and about as far from a racist as you can get. The point Patrice drove was that the subsequent flip-out Dave experienced was totally unwarranted and a direct result of years of gaslighting by Paul Mooney. Patrice also didn't blow up the fact that Bill Burr was the one who laughed. Just that a white guy laughed and Dave lost his Susan. It was later admitted by Bill Burr himself that he was the guy in a later O&A episode. There are like 20 of these things in my neighborhood. They weren't there yesterday afternoon when I got back from work but were there when I went to work this morning. I snatched one but don't see anything identifying what it is or who owns it. Any ideas? I hope it's not surveillance equipment. Pick of the electronics inside. You stole surveying equipment, you absolute tool. Sees something he can't identify, no. Steals it and breaks it. You literally committed a crime, you Susaning Susan. I hope your homeowners association Susans you in the Susan. 1. They should have notified us before putting up unknown and suspicious looking electronic equipment. 2. It's illegal to put up surveillance equipment here so finders keepers. Surveying what? Should have taken pictures of them installed. They were literally just stuck in the ground throughout the neighborhood. They're just stuck in the ground along the walkways and in the park, open space in our complex. Wi-Fi LED lights from FBI. You do realize it has a locator beacon and they know you stole it. Looks like some kind of Wi-Fi moisture sensor, so they can tell when the grass needs watering. LMMFAO Yas grass. Can we get a close-up on the board? Here you go. It looks like self-sustaining soil monitoring equipment. Do you rent? Property management may be using it. If not and one was stuck in your property, that's suspect as Susan. Something of this design could easily be adapted to be used as surveillance equipment. Would have the radios it needs and everything. Imagine being so much of a paranoid Susan that you steal anything off the street that looks suspicious. Why did you steal and break these things anon? Paranoid. It's not paranoia when you're right. But it is paranoia when it's an irrigation moisture sensor, which is what this was. Good job op, enjoy getting billed for that from whoever manages your neighborhood's sprinkler systems. You didn't even know what it was. You stole it, disassembled it and went to 4chan to ask what it was. It doesn't matter if you're right later on or not, your initial reasoning for stealing it is completely brain dead and anyone can use your line of thinking to steal anything they can't identify. You're an idiot. Steal. I'm only borrowing it. I'll put it back. Anon, you need to report it to the local authorities so they can have it on file. Looks like an ad hoc network device of some type. I suspect it may be part of planned future protest riot communication infrastructure. Some of the posters here know about it and have decided to try to scare you with allegations of theft. This is too organized and many suspect China is behind it. I'm returning your commercially available gardening equipment. I assumed this was a cyber magic weapon. Please do not sue. Anything I don't understand is usually evil cyber magic, and should be stopped. It's either some Susan to monitor air pollution or stuff. Or just some self-charging night lights. You still did major Susaning oopsie by stealing it, you Susaning idiot. This is not a joke. This thread. Holy Susan, you people are beyond Susan. That's literally just a mole repeller. You stick it in the ground and it emits ultrasonic sounds that moles hate and keeps them away. Imagine living in a country where Susaned up animals just dig up your garden if you turn your back. This thread is going to Susaning kill me. Susan more Susan from around your neighborhood to show us OP. Thanks for watching. See you on the boards.